Good morning, everybody. There's nothing like being on the road and trying to figure it all out. I had a full day yesterday at TikTok. I'm going to tell you all about that. There was lots of news, so there's lots to unpack on the Disney front, as well as lots of other current events. Yesterday was a long day. I am very, very tired, so I am expecting your calls today, and we'll get this show off to a great start. So get ready, grab that pen, write down this phone number as I slowly figure out how we're going to get this done today. 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540. Thank you very much. Thank you. 253-263-1540. Welcome to the show, everybody. Well, we go to Disney World, we travel. We're in New York City for a TikTok event. All day yesterday, after we did the show, I was over in Midtown Manhattan at the TikTok headquarters. It was an event for about 30 creators, mostly live creators, a little bit of a mixed bag. And the idea was to give us further insight into growth, further insight into utilizing the tools that the app provides. And, they kind of pulled back the curtain and gave us a look at, all of us there have representatives at TikTok. So they gave us kind of a look behind the curtain as to how things work from our reps' perspective, how they're able to see data surrounding our account and what we do. It was very cool, actually. And then there was even an opportunity to kind of sidebar and talk to folks. So I learned some things from some of the tech guys working at TikTok, but spent the morning basically sitting in a conference room going through a PowerPoint presentation. And then we take a break, and there's pizza and whatnot. And Sharif was there, and I go, listen, I got this idea for a video. I said, because, they haven't told us anything yet. But in theory, TikTok's going away. So here's what I want to do. Because it's a bunch of content creators. So at the end of the day, everybody's there making content. I said, listen, let's make a video where TikTok's going out of business. It's weeks away from possibly closing, which means everything must go. So I have to edit this video, but it's just basically me running around TikTok trying to take everything from chairs to pillows to books to coffee machines. And security's looking at me. I'm like, sir, it's for the content. It's for the content. So it was a lot of fun, though. It was a lot of fun getting to talk to my rep and getting to explain to her where I intend to take this channel, talking more about this radio presentation, and finding ways to plug that in to everybody. Just go how to plug that in to what we're doing here. And work towards larger growth and talking about short form video content, a lot of inside baseball for content creators. But for myself, a lot of technical insight. I spent about an hour in the booth. So my beanie says override. I got it in Tokyo. Anyway, give me a call, 253-263-1540. So after that, they took us out. They didn't tell us they were taking us out, but they took us out. So we went out, and then everybody decided they wanted to go to Rockefeller Center, and nobody knew where it was. And I kept trying to explain to everybody, if you just look up to the building with the NBC peacock on it that says Comcast and head in that direction, you can't go wrong. But nobody wanted to listen. So finally, we get to 30 Rockefeller Center to view the Christmas tree. And everybody decides they want to go to the other side to look at the ice skating. Okay, cool, let's go. How do we get there? Well, you walk. You can go around the block. You can cut through the building. But nobody wants to listen. So I just left. And if you caught the live last night, we wound up on like a bridge on the steps, right underneath the tree at 30 Rock, looking out at the ice skating rink. And it was just a really nice moment. And then we kind of walked around the city and did our thing, had some funny interactions. I don't know if anybody was there, but we walked past, was it Miss Saigon? No, it wasn't Miss Saigon. What show was it? Who was there? What show was it? Great Gatsby. So we walked past the Great Gatsby. So we're live, and we're going past the Great Gatsby, and there's like 4 or 5 folks still outside. You like the live? There's like 4 or 5 folks still outside from the show talking to one of the actors. And then I walk up, and I just stop. So now there's 5 of us, and I don't know who the actor is. And he's, typical New York fashion. He's coming out of the stage door and greeting the audience, and then he's going to just walk off down the street, going home. I'm standing there. So what do? I looked at him and I said, thank you. It was fantastic. Why not? What was I going to say? What was I going to say? I mean, yes, I could have said nothing, but I just felt like that would have been rude. I'm standing there. If I didn't say anything, you would have been like, this one audience member didn't say anything. He's standing there. How bad was the show? So whatever. But we had fun. We walked all the way to where I used to live in Hell's Kitchen. And then we found ourselves back in Midtown. I cut the live. I regrouped with whoever was left of the content creators. And we just kind of hung out in Times Square. And then I went back to Brooklyn, which is where we are now. And the plan today is to take your calls. There's some Disney stuff I want to get to. I don't know if you caught the interview yesterday with Josh, because we were talking about Rivers of America, and that permit extension has been granted. So there's a handful of things to unpack. The United CEO thing. So there's just a lot to unpack. We'll take your calls, 253-263-1540. And then what I want to do is something I've never done, and I don't think, visually speaking, it's going to be too spectacular. But I've always wanted to go to the site of the 1964-65 World's Fair. Good morning, Jessica. Where Walt built rides that would wind up at Disneyland. So we're going to go. I don't know, from a streaming perspective, I'll show it to you. I'll share it with you. I don't know how much time will be spent there, but it's just something I've always wanted to do. And it's there, and I'm sure it's pretty underwhelming. But if you think about what transpired, it's kind of cool. And I kind of wish that we still had World's Fairs. I, in many ways, think that they should bring those back. I think there's a lot of value in that. You can probably tell, not only am I tired, but I'm like kind of trying to dial it back because there are people still sleeping. And thank you, Rob. So anyway, spend the day in TikTok. I'm pretty much in the city till midnight. Come back here to Brooklyn. Find out that I get, if anybody knows anything about the city, so the L train. So you come out of Manhattan, or you go down to the bottom of the island, and you get the L. Well, the L's not running, right? So now they have a shuttle bus. But at the end of the day, the transportation system in New York City is so easy to navigate. And it's like, even just walking around, if you just open up your eyes, it is so easy. And I remember when I went to Tokyo, and I was like, okay, I don't really know where I'm going, but how hard is it going to be to navigate this subway system? And once you kind of understood just the relationship between the zones, it wasn't hard to figure out. But I'm telling you, like, just walking through the city last night, the whole thing, like, it brought back so many memories. Even on the live, like, I went past like places that were just bringing back memories. But just even like doing all that last night, I'm like, wow, I feel like I haven't missed a beat, just kind of navigating your way through it all. But the city's got a lot of energy. I love Times Square. It's interesting. I walked through it on the stream, but they have like in the middle, where the 2 for tickets are, they have like a little Christmas shop village. So we kind of strolled through there on the live, just something to see, something to enjoy. And when I cut the live later, this is what gets me. So when I cut the live later and I regrouped with whoever was left from TikTok, they wanted to do, those things where they have the selfie ring that goes around? All right. They're everywhere. They are everywhere in the city, and people pay. I mean, they'll literally be on a street corner, not even in Times Square, and these selfie rings. And it's like $25. So they have a giant one in Times Square. And this whole group is like, oh, we got to do the the 360 selfie. Like, I don't want to do it. And they're like, no, come on, you gotta do it. I'm like, guys, I don't want to do it. So we get up on the platform, and it's in the middle of Times Square. And I'm like standing on the outside. Sharif goes, you better watch out because you're standing way too close. You're going to get whacked right in the head with that selfie ring. I was like, that's a good call. Now the music starts. And it's Jay-Z and Alicia Keys, New York. And the selfie ring's flying around. And it whacks me right in the hand. I'm like, oh, I should have listened. So I don't really know what to do. So I'm just kind of like moving a little bit. You know, everyone's dancing. I'm moving a little bit. I'm like, oh, all right, 15, 20 seconds of this, right? Of the song. Well, I mean, tell me how they played like the director's cut, because we're up there for 90 seconds, maybe 2 minutes. And we're all looking at each other like this. Nobody's going to use this much of this video. Like, we're all content creators. Like, sir, you can cut this now. So this thing's flying around us. And so I have the video. I'm not sharing the whole video. But I'm now looking at people looking at us, and I'm like, this is the most awkward thing ever. And I'm not even, at this point, I'm not even dancing. I'm just looking. I'm like, well, this camera's flying around. It's only going to catch me so often. So I'll just be looking at different places. I'm not even, so in this video, they're all dancing, and I'm just looking. Okay. Is it over? Are we all going to use the same 10 seconds? That was the moment when I was like, it's been fantastic. I am leaving. And I left. That's what I did. But it was a good time. And I learned a lot. There's some potential opportunity for collaboration between some creators that would be very, very exciting. And, very much into the Disney side of things, the theme park side of things. But it was really one of those experiences where you really have to take it upon yourself to make it work for you. If I would have just stayed in the room, if I would have just gone to the places they told us to do, I would have not gotten the insight that I got yesterday. But when they took us into the studio and every one of the content creators flocked onto the quote unquote soundstage, which is really just a little white cyc, in a loft, if you know what I mean by that. They all go flocking into that room to take their pictures and jump in front of the ring lights and do their thing and whatever. And I went right into the tech booth. And I don't know these guys. I just stuck out my hand. I said, hi, my name is Royce. Nice to meet you. Hello. Nice to meet you. You mind if I take a look? And they start showing me stuff. And I started asking questions. And the guy goes, sit down. I said, listen, I'm trying to do something. And it was a technical thing, and I'll spare you the details. But I said, this is what I'm trying to do. And he goes, you got to talk to the other guy. And the other guy just happens to walk in. He goes, go talk to him. So I walk outside, and everybody's standing there, and I go, excuse me, are you so-and-so? And he goes, yeah. I go, I'm supposed to talk to you about X, Y, and Z. Brittany, thank you. I'm supposed to talk to you about that. And he goes, oh, that is my language. So now I'm back in the tech booth, and you'll find out one day very, very, very soon what this is that I'm trying to accomplish with streaming. And he goes, this is how you do it. And I'm like, do you mind if I take notes? He goes, not at all. He goes, in fact, if you need help, you reach out to me. So I got a technical crash course yesterday in about an hour on doing something that I've been thinking about doing for the last 6 months. And it is, I'm not trying to be cryptic, but if I can achieve this, and I believe I can, not only will this take the channel to a new level, but this will ultimately elevate the channel to the level that it will be a true variety experience. And what do I mean by that? I mean, we'll be doing the parks, we'll be gaming, we'll be building Lego. I mean, it'll be non-stop. And we're just going and it'll be like, it'll be a TV show. It'll be a TV show. So with that knowledge, I feel like this trip, right, just for that bit of information, was worth all of it. But I am so tired right now because going around a group, like with a group of people in the city is daunting. Okay. It's daunting. So I'm happy to be sitting here and decompressing and taking my time. Now, last Friday night, I sat down with a gentleman by the name of Joshua L. Harris, a former cast member and a Disney historian. And I released that interview yesterday. We were discussing the fate of Rivers of America. And it was announced, I believe, yesterday that the permit extension was granted. I believe Disney has a 6-month extension for the Rivers of America. Now, what we were discussing, myself and Josh, was that a lot of what they need to do for that permit requires a lot more time than 6 months. So I don't know if they're going to modify their plan or if they're going to try to keep pushing this down the road. But they were granted their extension, which means they don't have to refile. I'm not an expert here. We've had people call in and give us color on this. I'm wondering if this is an opportunity for modification or if there's some way that within the 6-month deadline, the 6-month extension, if they can actually get the information that they need to in order to get permit approval. Because everything that I'm hearing and the conversation I had with Josh and the conversation we've had with a few callers was that the amount of work, and it's several different things, several different projects, if you will, several different studies that need to be conducted in order to get, not just get permit approval, okay, but there's a wildlife component because that river is essentially, as much as it was man-made at one point, and we were talking about this on the conversation with Josh. I don't want to call it an interview. It's much more a conversation. But that river is now a part of the ecosystem. So there's a genuine environmental concern around removing that river. I just don't know if there's a way that they're going to be able to answer the questions and complete the studies effectively in 6 months, or if they're going to continue to just try to get extensions. So we're going to see how this plays out. What was fascinating to me is Josh talked about people that he had some ties to in Tallahassee, and we'll see. We'll see if maybe this is just a glimmer of hope and unfortunately won't actually reverse course. But I'd like to think that if they can't actually get done what they need to in terms of showing that they're going to preserve the environment and do whatever they need to do to not be totally disruptive to wildlife, if they can't prove that, I don't know how it moves forward as a project. I'll never forget the day that we were on Tom Sawyer Island and we saw a baby alligator swimming by in the rivers of America. That area is completely tied in to the swampland behind the park. So even though it's an attraction, and yes, no matter what they do, they will have to drain the river because most people don't even realize this, the boat's on a track. Okay, it's not a free-floating vessel like your transportation vessels. The Liberty Bell's on a track. So one way or the other, they have to drain it to service it. My concern is because Disney is so silent from a PR perspective, is that when they choose to drain the river without any sort of announcement, there's going to be a level of outrage without understanding. So I would hope that at some point, somebody who's working on the PR side of this company would say, maybe if we're a little bit more communicative with our audience, with our consumers, then maybe we won't have the kind of backlash we have. So I would just suggest that maybe somebody within the company tries to be a little more transparent. Everybody understands that things change. Okay, but this shell game that we're playing of purposely deceptive concept art and sort of like backhanded promises, like we're going to have conversations about how to preserve the Muppets, which I heard a very interesting take on that I'll get to in a moment. But the way they're choosing to handle these things shows such a lack of respect, not just for the founders, meaning the Jim Hensons, the George Lucases, the Walt Disney, but a lack of respect for those that admire and appreciate the founders. And if you continue to show not just a lack of respect to the visionaries, but a lack of respect to the consumer, you will in turn create an opening in the market for somebody to come along and outdo what you do. Why? Let me tell you something. It's unbelievable what's going on. I'm not going to get into the details, but I just saw something pop up on my screen. Unbelievable. It's like, some days I feel like I'm spinning plates. So, all I would say is that irrespective of what is being done, whether you're getting rid of Muppets, whether you're getting rid of the Rivers of America, is that you do a better job from a PR perspective and try to thwart all of, and I know that there's only so much they can do, but if you got just ahead of it slightly, you might diminish some of the speculation. And it's just every other day, it's rage bait, it's clickbait, and it's speculation. And I think it would just make so much more sense for the company to come out and go, hey, listen, we have heard you, and we are looking at our options. I mean, they said it about Muppet Vision 3D because they knew they had to. Now, somebody sent me a link to a conversation, I think it was on CNET. And this isn't coming from Disney, but they're proposing the idea of preserving Muppet Vision 3D in VR, fully interactive VR. So you would not only be able to watch it, be immersed in it, and turn around and experience it from all angles, but you might actually be able to engage with the production. Again, I think this was a couple reporters on CNET saying that this would be the perfect marriage of Disney parks and Apple Vision Pro and could be the beginning of a VR park experience, which I say, hey, that sounds very interesting, especially if you're talking about rides that are gone. Because if you can actually bring back the Great Movie Ride in VR and people can go on the Great Movie Ride in VR or go experience the old Epcot in VR, I think that would be really, really compelling. Now, that being said, the price point for Apple Vision is such that only the most deep-pocketed consumers can afford it. So as much as I like that, it will take time for the price to come down, right? Early adopters always spend more money. But at some point, if the cost to the consumer of Apple Vision Pro could come down to a $500, $600, $700 price point, now you're talking. Because not only, and I've said this before and I'm going to say it again because I firmly believe it, Disney should ban park lives, there should be no park streaming, and Disney should do a fully immersive VR experience. And you can go with your headset or just watch it on your own on Disney Plus and go have a VR park experience. You don't need a host. You don't need a bunch of streamers running around the park impeding the guest experience. You literally just need to mount VR cameras to every ride vehicle and just let people pay a premium to jump on Disney Plus and go to the parks virtually. And then you can wipe out all of these content creators. Because you don't need them. Because you're the Walt Disney Company. And you don't need advertising. And you don't need brand reinforcement. Post-pandemic, yes, it was nice to remind people that the parks were open and to show them how it was functioning post-pandemic. We're beyond that. We're beyond that. So what I would say is Disney should ban park lives on all platforms. No more live streaming from they do it in Tokyo. Ban it and then add a VR component. Add VR cameras, 360 cameras to at least one ride vehicle on every major attraction. And then you can allow people to ride the rides on Disney Plus in a VR experience. And when that price point drops on the Apple Vision, it'll be amazing because like I said, not only for current rides, and this is just listening to somebody else talk about this. So I'm merely opining on somebody else's thoughts here. But being able to preserve old attractions, being able to bring back, a defunct version of Epcot, or possibly even go visit an early Disneyland, possibly even, if done right, go visit Disneyland on opening day. I mean, how cool would that be to go, because the footage is there. So it would take somebody to recreate it within the computer. But imagine with a marriage of AI and computer graphics and 3D rendering, being able to use archival footage to build an immersive version of the opening day of Disneyland. How cool would that be? That would be amazing. So I look at them talking about preserving Muppet Vision and saying we're having these conversations. And I go purely from a business perspective, because I've talked about it from a respect perspective. Because if you had any respect for legacy, you would already have an exit strategy for the attraction. But from a business standpoint, it is a lost opportunity to announce something in that moment when the fever pitch is that high. Imagine saying we're getting rid of Muppets, but here is this thing that we're going to be providing, which will allow Muppet Vision 3D to live on forever. Imagine if a company like Disney had enough creative energy and desire to actually plan what they were going to do and not just to, on a whim, make an announcement. Because I truly believe, and I've heard this from multiple people, that the decision to get rid of Muppet Vision was a coin toss. Animation Courtyard or Muppets. Animation Courtyard or Muppets. And it was a coin toss. And my conversation with Josh, he thinks there's a very, very slim chance that Muppets could be saved. But again, from a business perspective, why wouldn't you have an exit and go, this is what we're doing? We're getting rid of it, but it's going over here. Don't fret. But instead, what they do is they make some half-baked announcement saying, don't cry. We're going to figure out what to do later. And that just shows you that they don't have a plan. And that means that not just a plan for this, but a plan for most things. And that's been confirmed internally time and time again. There's an interview that I did that will be coming out soon with an anonymous cast member and will be followed up by several others. And we're going to give you direct insight to what goes on behind the scenes. The first one's already been recorded. What goes on behind the scenes and examples of why there are so many issues with getting things done. You're on the air. Who's this?
Hey, Royce. It's Cameron or Doc.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I can't complain. What's on your mind?
Well, you were talking about Muppets, and the last conversation we had was about the Muppets. And how the VR thing is an interesting thing to think about, because I don't know if it's truly the right move to do it in VR. What do you think?
Well, I think at the moment, it doesn't make it accessible to everyone. I would rather see it, like I've said 100 times, I'd rather see it at the Smithsonian. I think it's a piece of American history. I think the Muppets are a national treasure. I think Jim Henson was a national treasure, and I think that belongs in the Museum of Television and Film, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because isn't there Jim Henson Museum somewhere?
There is. There was an exhibit in the city for a while. I don't know if that's still here.
you think that would be a good location for them to put it in, or do you think they would never do that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, look, you got to figure out what, there's Disney and then there's the Jim Henson Company. They're not the same. And the Henson kids run the Henson Company. They are looking to sell the lot on La Brea in Hollywood and move the Creature Shop and Muppet Studios, or whatever they're called. It's not Muppet Studios, Jim Henson Productions and the Creature Shop under one roof. So if there was an opportunity for the family, and I don't suspect without an acquisition that there would be, but if there was actually an opportunity for the family to get their hands on the project, then I would say wherever they're going to move things, it would be really incredible to have it there. Because now imagine the Jim Henson lot, wherever they move to, has tours and has this show you can see. That would be a great business strategy.
100%. But would Disney allow that to happen? Would Disney say give up the Muppets right?
We'll see what happens. I don't think that this rock and roller coaster Muppet thing goes. Maybe it does, but I don't think it lasts long. That doesn't make sense to me. That makes about as much sense as putting Cars over in Frontierland. Because who's going to ride this Muppets ride? It's a roller coaster with a height limit. It goes upside down. It's a launch coaster, so you're icing out little ones and older folks. So if the Muppets, in theory, have mass appeal, or to use a Hollywood term, 4-quadrant appeal, then I would say, why not put them in an attraction that also has 4-quadrant appeal? Why are you giving them an attraction where the youngest and the oldest audience members can't even enjoy it?
I don't know. I'm kind of thinking to myself right now, could this turn out to be like a canceled ride attraction, like the Mary Poppins ride in Epcot or something like that? I don't see this going through. I really don't.
I would like to say that I don't see it going through. That would involve a couple things. That would mean, number one, they're listening. All right. That would also mean that, number two, and quite possibly even zero, that they're caring enough to listen. And I don't think the care and the consideration is there. I think the only thing that's going to save the Muppets is for somebody to embarrass them publicly. The only thing that gets Disney to react is public embarrassment. It's only when the company they cannot stand being shamed publicly. There is this false sense from the C-suite that they are all Walt Disney disciples. And there's this thought that because we're Disney, nobody can do it better than us, and we'll always be the best at what we do. And that is coasting on the fumes of Walt's legacy. The guys in the C-suite, they don't take risks. So if they truly cared, then I'd say they would have had a plan. But the fact that they didn't have a plan tells me that it's all just whim-based decision-making. So who's going to be the one to save Muppets? I mean, who's got the guts to do it? The family's not going to speak out because that's a bad business move for the family to speak out. Frank Oz could speak out because Frank Oz doesn't give two flying fish about the Walt Disney Company. Frank Oz, he doesn't care. Somebody needs to speak up, but it's going to have to be somebody that the Walt Disney Company actually has to respond to. An Eisner. Somebody has to publicly pull down Bob Iger's pants and spank him in the media. I'm not even joking. I'm not even trying to be funny. I know, but cause that was a phrase that was used to me in college. I'll never forget. I was working for a guy in the alumni building, and I said something to him, and he goes, in front of the president of the university, and he goes, "You just pulled my pants down and spanked me in front of the president." And I was like, what a weird thing to say to me. You're a grown man. I'm a college kid. I don't know what's on your mind, buddy. But in this respect, I wasn't even joking. But I guess in many ways I was all at the same time because it's hilarious. Like, Bob Iger.
Listen.
Bob Iger is the worst thing that has happened to this company. Did you listen to my interview with Josh, my conversation with Josh?
No, unfortunately, I was working that day.
It's out there. It wasn't live. It's podcasted. You can go listen to it at your leisure.
Oh, okay.
But he makes such a fantastic case for how, go look at like some of the new things that are coming out, like show everything, like how much of Bob Iger's arsenal of characters have been pushed to the front of everything, and how all of these other characters have been relegated to the background. How Bob Iger's era of characters has dominated everything. I never even thought about it that way.
Now, what do you mean? Well, what do you mean by like characters? Like characters in movies and the TV shows and stuff like that?
In the parks. So Pixar, Star Wars, Marvel, Fox, Bob Iger acquisitions taking front and center, constantly being prioritized so they can recoup.
I see what you mean now. Definitely, because now that you say that, now it's got me thinking, because they definitely have been pushing those all front and center in the parks, like Guardians of the Galaxy in Epcot, Monsters Inc. in Hollywood Studios, Cars going in Disney World.
Makes no sense. Makes no sense.
No.
So you're going to be standing in line for the Haunted Mansion and looking out at some version of not Radiator Springs. I don't get it. I just don't get it. And the thing is, you can't reverse that, right? Like, you can't, if you get rid of that river, it's never coming back. If they pulled Muppet Vision, in theory, that's something you could bring back. Like somebody could come in with some real chutzpah and say, hey, I'm reversing this. Like, I'm gutting this and putting it back in. I don't see that ever happening with the river. But a show like Muppets, they're going to pull the assets, the movie's preserved. Most of that could very easily be transported elsewhere and rebuilt, which means if it went away, it could be brought back. They got a whole other copy of the show in a warehouse somewhere from California Adventure, which, by the way, that should have been the writing on the wall years ago for everyone. When they added that to California Adventure and then got rid of it, that should have told everybody what you needed to know. Not that that was the original, but the fact that they put Muppet Vision 3D in California Adventure and then took it out should tell you all you need to know about their feelings on the Muppets.
Yeah, just back to that Cars thing. Also, is the railroad also going to be shut down again because of them getting rid of Rivers of America?
My understanding is it will have to be temporarily shut down, but it won't necessarily be shut down for the entire duration of the project. But it would inevitably have to be shut down at some point.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Big Thunder Mountain.
I say just.
Go on.
I just say they don't do the Cars expansion. I say leave Rivers of America. If you want to, do the Villains Land, because that's what people are most interested in anyway. No one was really interested in Cars coming.
Yeah, I'm just concerned that when you look at the current state of things, whether we're talking about the quality of the parks, the cleanliness of the parks, the thematic integrity, the upkeep, the maintenance. When I look at all of those things and I look how, as a whole, the parks are really underperforming. Not in terms of attendance. I'm talking in terms of the brand, right? And in terms of quality standards. Yeah. I don't even want the Villains Land. Like, I want villains. Like, we've wanted a villains park for as long as I can remember. But if the Villains Land is going to be the Bob Iger model of, 2 rides in a restaurant, or even 1 ride in a restaurant, then I don't want it. Look at Avengers Campus. Avengers Campus, dare I say, is so cheap So cheap. I remember being so underwhelmed and couldn't even wrap my head around how underwhelmed I was when I saw Avengers Campus for the first time. And if anybody remembers Bugs Land.
Can
Yes, sir.
I tell you something? I think Avengers Campus is the worst themed land single-handedly in all of Disney World, in all the parks.
Well, the story goes, they purposely said, make everything like smooth and concrete in this land. So in 10 years, we can retheme it to something else with minimum impact or minimum cost. And if you look at Avengers Campus, it is very much, I don't remember who said that, but if you look at Avengers Campus, that is literally like, it's all concrete, exterior, smooth facing, front facing buildings. Everything is like, would be so easy to retheme. Now, whether they theme it to something else Marvel or just completely make whatever, I don't know. But it is literally, it is like a prefabricated concrete land.
No, it also makes me laugh about that land is the show that no one can really see because of the sightline.
Oh, the whole thing's a mess. Even the way they, like, it's cool that they have the Spider-Man going by, but the way that they have, like, where they set that up and where people are forced to stand, like, it was just not well thought out. And I know what show you're talking about, but I'm thinking of the Spider-Man thing because people would gather there and they, first of all, and then they have that little Spider-Bot shop right there. And I'm like, this is a high trafficked area. And now people are stopping to watch Spider-Man. It just seemed to me like, I don't know. I personally think Bugs Land was themed better. Even though it was for little ones, it was themed better. Like, it wasn't plussing the park. Like the what is the ride called? What is the Spider-Man ride called? Xbox Connect. What is it called?
I could not tell you. I really don't know the name of that ride.
I don't even know. What is it called? Into the Spidey Bots? What is the ride called? I don't know what, nobody knows. What is the ride called? What is the Spider-Man ride called? Anyway, it's a horrible ride. It's Toy Story without the controllers. Web slingers. Oh. Web slingers. Okay. There's a reason I forgot what it was called. So, you get on this ride, and they put you in a shipping container, because that's what it feels like, with the sides off. And it's basically like an Xbox Connect. So you go in front of these giant screens, and you're supposed to shoot webs, like you throw your arm out there. But it's so chaotic and frenetic that you don't know what's going on. And you don't know what impact you're having. And then I guess there's like an upsell with I would call them a gauntlet for lack of a better phrase, but obviously there's always the upsell with the toys and the attachments. But I do this thing and it's like, it's fun for a minute. But then by like the third one, I'm like, I'm tired. Like, I don't want to do this anymore. Also because I don't know what it's doing and I don't feel like I'm getting anything out of it. And yeah, it's cool, but you're putting me in a car and just putting me in front of a screen. It kind of reminds me of the Transformers ride from Universal Hollywood. But at least with that, I felt like I was on a ride. With the Spider-Bot thing, you're basically you put me on a flat track. I mean, so these are my concerns for Villains Land, because if they're not going to elevate it, if they're not going to do it right, then not only is it going to fall flat, but the expectations are so high because the desire for Villains Land has been there so long that they're almost operating at a deficit. In other words, they really got to knock it out of the park to impress people. I don't see that happening. I'm not trying to be negative. If you just look at the data, they've gotten very, very lazy, and people have high expectations for a villains park, and then they look at that concept art, and now all I saw in that concept art was a lot of black paint. I didn't see or ink. I didn't see a lot of detail. It was a very murky piece of concept art. When we see some real artwork, then we'll start to know. But that concept art doesn't give you any answers. It's all blue sky.
If this were old Disney, I would like to believe that with the new Villains Land, they would be adding like 5 new rides, 2 new restaurants, and a show. Because that's what I would expect out of like a Villains Land. Because they have so many iconic villains they could choose from and pick to add to that part of the park.
Well, everybody wanted everybody wanted a Villains Gate. The old desire was to have a Villains Park. And I understand why having another park, opening up another gate, doesn't make business sense right now. But I almost think it's better to not do Villains Land, even though, like, that's not my fight. I don't care. But if you're simply going to make it look like Cars Land, where you have your e-ticket at the end, and then everything else is just sporadic whatever, then it's not gonna look and feel like it should. I mean, I always go back to Tokyo. When you go into that Jules Verne inspired area in Disney Sea, the scale and the magnitude of what they built when you go behind the volcano, when you go into that area of Journey to the Center of the Earth and 20,000 Leagues, you are blown away by not just the detail, but the commitment to scale. I mean, it's not just a giant facade of rock in the distance that you're looking at. You are in this volcano. You are in this mountain. I mean, you are in it. Like you've walked into it. And I look at stuff like that and I go, could you imagine if they did something like Villains to just 50% of the quality standards of what they're doing in Tokyo? If they did just half of what they have going on there that I just described in Disney Sea with something like Villains, and you know they're capable, they didn't quite do it with Galaxy's Edge because Galaxy's Edge still doesn't even come close to what's going on in Disney Sea. But it shows that they're capable of doing good immersion. And if they really wanted to, Villains Land could be a highly immersive experience. But if you look at Cars Land, and if you look at Avengers Campus, and any of these other expansions, even what they're proposing for this new Monsters Inc. land, it is the bare minimum. It's shop, food, ride, we're out. Shop, food, ride, we're out. It's all cookie cutter. This is not the Eisner era. In Michael Eisner's day, he would have spent $1 million to fix a mistake. Michael Eisner was known for going, do it this way. And they'd go, sir, you shouldn't be doing it this way. And he goes, no, do it that way. And he wouldn't listen. And then he would do it, or they would do it, and then he'd go, oh, you were right. All right, we're going to fix it. And they go, well, that's going to cost like $1 million. He goes, just do it. So at least as brash as Michael Eisner was, he was capable of recognizing his mistakes, and he was willing to spend to fix them. This current version of the company just seems to double down. That's all they do. I saw a picture the other day of like these tables that are being like clamped to like a fence in Disneyland. Like they're like, I don't even know how to describe them. It's almost like, imagine like a snack table, like, but it looks like it's like a Murphy bed, like something that folds down, like the seat tray on the back of an airplane, like on the back of an airplane airplane seat. So they've got these little trays in Disneyland near, I guess it's near Grizzly River Rapids. And these little trays are mounted to the railing, and then they're wrapped in what looks like a Party City tablecloth. And I'm like, where are we? Now I'm looking at a picture, I wasn't there. But I'm like, what is this place? Like, never in a million years would that fly. Why am I looking at this place now and it feels like Chuck E. Cheese to me? And that's the concern I have when we talk about expansion.
The quality has definitely dropped since, I'd say, the 90s, correct?
unequivocally.
It's not even comprehensible how things have took a turn from the 90s. Because since the turn of the new century, it's just kind of felt like Disney has gotten lazy.
Look, we'll see what happens. I maintain that the proper CEO succession plan should be Staggs and Mayer. One of the things I didn't know that Josh told me in our conversation was that Iger has some sort of clause in his contract where he'll still basically be in the shadows of a new CEO, much like he was for Chapek. So I wonder if there's a way to get rid of that. But it is just, I said this the other day. It's kind of amazing how time works because we're very good at getting outraged over things, right? Like in a short-sighted way. So, I always use the Star Wars prequels as an example. People hated the Phantom Menace. People hated the Phantom Menace. Fast forward to the Star Wars sequels, and people are looking at the prequels now, and they're like, these are good. These held up. So it's kind of like Eisner. People used to say Michael Eisner was the worst CEO. He put gift shops at the end of the rides. He did all these different things. But at the end of the day, if not for Michael Eisner, you don't have the international park expansion. If not for Michael Eisner, you don't get those merchandise shops at the end of the rides, which in turn start to really encourage more ride and park specific merch. Michael Eisner was the guy that took the Walt Disney Company from a fledgling Hollywood studio to an international media conglomerate. And only time has made him, in hindsight, the best CEO since Walt. People thought for the longest time Iger was fantastic, and time has done the opposite. So it's very interesting to me how, with the benefit of time, our perspectives change. And that fascinates me. So we're very quick to, in this world we live in, to prop people up or to tear people down, as opposed to just sort of observe. And now that we're sort of at the end of Iger's tenure and we've done enough observing and really unpacked it all, I think it's fair to say that from day one, Bob Iger never really cared about preserving the legacy of the Walt Disney Company and just wanted to elevate his status, make his mergers and acquisitions, and then run for office. And when that failed, he decided to go back to the company, and now we have a bitter CEO.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part of the business world. Some CEOs just don't care about the fans and the families that come to these parks. They only care about profit margins.
Now I'm going to geek out for a second. I don't like the word fan. You want to know why?
Yeah.
You know what it's short for?
What?
Fanatic. A fan is a fanatic. I don't like the word fan. I understand what you're saying, and I'm not knocking what you're saying. I'm just bringing up a point. Because fanatics maybe aren't going to be the most rational-minded when it comes to things. A fanatic doesn't sound like a good thing. A fan sounds fine, but a fanatic sounds like a little too much, a little overbearing, a little, and it's the fanatical response to everything that Disney does that has made every response to anything Disney does seem to be at the same volume. So whether Disney puts in new garbage cans at Epcot or opens up a new attraction or raises prices or gets rid of Muppets, the level of outrage is the same for everything. And at a certain point, if everything's got the same volume of outrage, then you've nullified all of it. You know what I mean? So that's just me geeking out on the word, not what you said. But when I think of the concept of what fan really is and what a fanatic truly is, that it reminds me of the real problem.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and when I sit here and talk constructively about the company and I talk about the things that I don't like, it's the fanatics that'll be like, so why do you hate Disney all of a sudden? Like, I thought you liked Disney. And I'm like, you're not listening. Like, you're just off your rocker. Because if I didn't like Disney, I wouldn't be saying these things. So that's my little rant on the word fanatic. That's all. Nothing to do with what you said. But you teed me up for it, and I'm doing a radio show. You got to fill time. You know what I mean? But it's just one of those things. When I look at that,
Fair enough.
but it's too extreme. Do you know what I'm trying to say? One of the reoccurring themes on this program, whether it's the live shows or the pre-recorded podcast with Kenzie on the weekends, which is really fantastic, moderation is this reoccurring theme. And it's not a forced idea. It just constantly comes up. So you can be passionate and you can love something, but it doesn't mean that you have to be, a fanatic. There can be, you can have a love of something and then still be critiquing it constructively. You don't have to be blinded by your love of something. In fact, I would suggest that's quite unhealthy. 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540. What else is on your mind today?
I don't think I've got much else to say.
All right.
In terms of this conversation, I really enjoyed the conversation we had today, Royce.
Well, I appreciate you, sir. I hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Love that. 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540. I just opened up my notes, and then it immediately changed to the wrong page. And now I don't know what I want to talk about next. I'm going to talk about the TikTok ban in a little bit, but I want to kind of stay on the Disney topic for another minute. I don't know how true this is, but I saw that they're contemplating pulling the Mufasa release, but then I saw that they had the premiere. But I heard on the heels of the whole Jay-Z thing, that they were contemplating pulling it, but I don't know how accurate that is. Can you talk about the recent Guardians of the Galaxy going down? I don't know anything about that. I don't know what's going on with Guardians of the Galaxy. 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540. I don't know anything about that. So, Barry Jenkins, the director of Mufasa, basically made a comment that after making Mufasa, that he was done making movies that way, and he essentially alluded to wanting to go back to independent storytelling. But he made the movie, nonetheless, got his paycheck, that's fine. Nothing but respect for that. But reading between the lines, it sounds like this movie from the director's mouth, a project like this is going to be, it's too many cooks in the kitchen. It's like a corporate mandated picture, right? So it's not like somebody came in and said, I have an idea, right? It's delegated out, right? It's not really developed. So anyway, he comes out and he says that. And I'm like, wow, that's the director basically saying that he didn't want to make movies like that again. And I get it. And then I'm reading up on Moana 2, and the songwriter, because Lin-Manuel Miranda didn't have anything to do with Moana 2, the songwriter is saying, in response to people saying that the music isn't good, is saying, don't worry about it. Give it 6 weeks, and all the kids will be singing this stuff, and you'll be tired of it. And I'm like, do these people not have NDAs? Like, if I'm Disney, the last thing I want before Mufasa comes out is my director basically saying, like, this movie was such a bad experience that I need to go back to indie films. Or the composer of your music for your big Moana sequel publicly saying, to the audience, hey, we all recognize the music isn't that great, but the kids don't know any better, and they'll be singing it anyway. You just gotta wait. And I'm like, first of all, what an arrogant comment, because it'll be hilarious when the kids aren't singing Moana 2 music, number one. But also, how are you actually, like, if I'm Disney, I'm more concerned about comments like this coming from the people that I'm hiring than I am concerned about people speaking up about non-work related issues. And I always think of Gina Carano. Like, I'm less concerned about what talent is saying about the world, okay? And I understand they get upset because of advertisers. But I'd be more concerned if you're out there biting the hand that feeds you. I'll never forget Shia LaBeouf coming out and knocking the Indiana Jones movie. And Steven Spielberg said there's a time to be a human being and there's a time to sell cars. You have to sell cars. So, do I think that this Mufasa movie is going to be good? No. But do I think if I hired Barry Jenkins to direct it, then I would want you to go out there and sell the car. Sell the car. And if I paid you to make music for Moana, keep your mouth shut. Make the music and keep your mouth shut. You're not the director. Nobody needs you to respond to the audience on that front. Nobody's looking for that. But your response is almost an admission of guilt. The fact that you make that comment says to me, you recognize the music is inferior, but it doesn't matter because, hey, it's fast food and the kids will eat it anyway. And I would just think that if you really, really cared about brand identity and you really cared about selling those cars, you wouldn't want your Mufasa director going out there and basically speaking out against the project. It seems weird to me where they choose to kind of shut up their talent. I almost called them disciples. That wouldn't be accurate. But it's interesting to me where they choose to do that. I personally think I haven't seen Moana 2. I don't intend to see it unless it's on Disney Plus. Unless I actually watch it on Disney Plus. Obviously, it'll be on Disney Plus. And I don't have any interest in watching Mufasa and I'm going to tell you why. Because I love The Lion King. I adore The Lion King. I'll never forget seeing The Lion King. I'll never forget when Mufasa died and waiting for him to come. I was a kid. I was waiting. I was like, when is he coming back to life? Never happened. Love, love, love The Lion King. Love The Lion King soundtrack. Then I saw the live-action Lion King was coming out. And I was so excited for the live-action Lion King. So excited. Like, hard to explain how excited I was for the live-action Lion King. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. It's going to be the Lion King. But it's going to be photorealistic. They call it live action, which is really silly and kind of an unintelligent way to phrase it. And it almost is speaking down to the audience because it's not live action. Those aren't real animals. It's photorealistic CGI. So I go to the movies, directed by Jon Favreau, who directed Iron Man, Zathura, so many other movies. Oh, brilliant director. And the movie was cold. The characters were cold. Everything felt distant and emotionless. And within 15 minutes of the movie, I was done. I stayed for the whole thing, but it was abysmal. And then you find yourself comparing it to the original. And I've said this 100 times. When it comes to making movies, when it comes to remaking movies, rather, if you're not elevating the source material, why are you doing it? I'll never forget, was it Gus Van Sant years ago did a Keller shot-by-shot remake of Psycho? Why? Why are you making it then? Like, how boring is it to do a shot-by-shot remake? If you're not elevating the source material, why are you doing it? You know what I'm saying? So, when I went to see The Lion King, my idea was the elevation of the source material would be the style, right? How cool would it be to see the story of The Lion executed through photorealistic CGI. And instead, what we got was this very, very cold and unemotional feature film. And funny enough, the best thing to come out of the live-action Lion King is The Mandalorian. Because the technology, and I've talked about this before, that was Jon Favreau directed The Jungle Book. The technology that they implemented in The Jungle Book using Epic, the same people that brought you Fortnite, and it's kind of interesting to see how it all ties together, but using the Unreal Engine, they took it from The Jungle Book to The Lion King, and then they took it from The Lion King, and then they took it to The Mandalorian, and they built the volume, and they used the same technology from those two feature films to develop the volume, which is the immersive set of like LED screens that they film in. So from a technical perspective, the movie led to great success, but the movie itself was a bit of a snooze fest. And again, why do we need Mufasa? Like, what? It's not a story anyone's asking for, number one. And number two, you're going right to the photorealism, which means the story's going to suffer, right? Because it's not going to resonate. Like, I would have been of the mindset of give us an animated Mufasa. And if they've done this and I don't know about this, forgive me. But I'm of the mindset of, going off of that. I think it was Lion King 1.5 or something that people love. So there's source material there that they could have played off of, but either which way, these live action, these photorealistic remakes, they bomb anyway. They're never good. Snow White looks like it's going to be abysmal. So I just, you look at what's going on, whether it's in the parks or whether it's in the movies. And I'm just the kind of person that says, if you're going to do something, do it right. Elevate the source material. If you're going to get rid of Splash Mountain, you sure as heck better be replacing it with something of the same quality. Now, I'm not talking about the theme. I'm just talking about it better run. I'm talking about it better look as good. I'm talking about it better be a plus, not a minus. What's up, Ellis?
Hey, what you think about the live action Aladdin?
Wow, you just like right out of the gate, bro. You're like a launch coaster. 0 to 60. 0 to 60. It was okay. I think it was one of the better ones. But I think the problem with the live action Aladdin, I mean, the problem with doing anything with that genie is nobody's Robin Williams.
Yeah.
And,
right.
That's a huge problem. So it was okay. I think in many ways it was probably out of the ones I've seen, the best one.
Well, what you think of Robin? I mean, Will Smith's performance of the genie.
What did I think of what?
Will Smith's performance of the genie.
It was okay. It was okay. It was a little annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do you say? Like, I'm the genie, I'm the man, I can rap, dance, and do whatever, like no. Like, leave me alone. Felt like, remember when Shaquille O'Neal played a genie? Do you remember that? What was that? Kazam?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was giving off Kazam vibes. Ellis, I got a beef with you, Ellis. You know what my beef is with you, right?
What?
You wanted to know when that Dino Nugget was showing up. And I was on the phone with you. And I said, Ellis, it says it's being delivered today. It might be sitting on your front door right now.
What?
And you wouldn't go look.
And I got it finally.
Yeah, because that's how the mail works.
Mm-hmm.
For days, you asked me about the package.
Yeah.
And then when the package finally gets there, you don't even go to check the front door. You're like, no. I'm like, what, you were just waiting for somebody else to pick it up and deliver it to you?
No, I was going to go get it by without.
No, Ellis, you were home when I spoke to you.
Oh, okay.
So you got the package.
Yep.
You would have thought I would have got a phone call. Hey, I got the Dino Nugget.
I
I didn't get a phone call.
love the Dino Nuggets.
I want it back. No, I want it back because you didn't
You
even
want it back?
Yeah, you didn't even call me to thank me for it. You must send the Dino Nugget back.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll send it back.
No, you won't. You're so lying right now. You're never sending it back.
I'm not lying.
No, you're just not sending it back. I know you. So the other package is on its way. So here's the thing. I don't think
Okay.
Ethan is here, but
Uh-huh.
Ethan's so nice. Ethan got a t-shirt and a beanie for Ellis. And I forgot to send that in the last package. So I just sent Ellis another package, Ethan, with all of this stuff. And then I added stuff to it. And then I called Ellis. I go, Ellis, listen, I got another package coming. Ellis goes, well, when's it going to get here? Like right away. Not, oh, thanks. When's it going to get here? I said, here's the thing, Ellis. I'm sending it ground. And I wrote a note on it. And Ellis will admit this is true. I said, I wrote a note on it, and I told the postman to walk extra slow. Isn't that right, Ellis?
Yeah.
Right? But you haven't gotten that yet, that
Right.
second package yet, have you?
No, I haven't. It's
No.
probably taking its time.
The package is taking its time. That's right. You're probably not going to get that package till the first fiscal quarter of next year.
Oh.
Do you know when that fiscal quarter
okay.
starts? Do you know about fiscal quarters?
No. I do not.
You want to learn about fiscal quarters?
I have no interest.
You don't know what it is, but you have no interest in talking about fiscal quarters with me?
No.
Okay, wait, what did Ethan say? I called and asked them to send it to...
I said,
never mind. Wait a second. What was the thing we were talking about the other day? You asked me to explain currency to you.
yeah.
Right? And
Right.
I said to you, I started to explain currency to you, and you said, well, I'm not into politics. And I said, Ellis, this is economics.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you like to shop? And you said, I do. And then I gave you a whole explanation on the yen, because you wanted to understand what the yen was. Right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's economics.
Yeah.
Now I'm talking about fiscal quarters, and you're not interested? It's more economics.
Okay. Okay.
Do you want to just get off the phone call immediately?
No. You can explain it to me.
All right. So there are 12 months in a year, and which means
Uh-huh.
think about quarters like in a game. There's 4 quarters in a basketball game, right?
Yeah.
Right. So
Right.
think of a year like a basketball game with 4 quarters,
Mm-hmm.
and each quarter,
Yeah.
if we called it a fiscal quarter, each quarter would be tied to reporting how much money a place made.
Mm-hmm.
So if I said to you, Ellis, how'd you do last fiscal quarter?
How did I do?
Yeah, you'd say, well, let me talk to my CPA.
Mm-hmm.
See what I'm saying?
I thought I did. Yeah, I thought I did good.
You thought you talked to your CPA?
No.
No, you did good. But you asked me about currency, and I told you about currency. Now I've taught you about fiscal quarter. What do you want to learn next? You want to learn how to start a business?
I think that's good.
That's it? You're done? You're done
Yeah.
learning for this?
I'm done learning.
Are you actually coming back to Disney World? Because your mom said you're planning a trip, but I don't know how true this is. Because I told her you need to go to Tokyo, but you said you don't want to go to Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't
I
you want to
don't.
go to Tokyo?
I've been a Disney fan. I've been a Disney fanatic ever since I was a little kid, and I will never leave that place. I'll always go to that place.
Well, that's very sweet. But Disney Tokyo is just another Disney place, but you won't leave it? You won't go to it?
No, I'm talking about Disney World.
No, I understand that, but I'm saying I think you would really enjoy Tokyo.
Oh.
I think you would be blown away by Tokyo Disney. You don't think so?
No.
You know what it is? I know why you don't want to go to Tokyo.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if you want me to tell everybody. You want me to tell everybody why you don't want to go to Tokyo?
Yeah, you can spot it out.
You lose all of your powers in a place where you don't understand the language. Your superpower is asking endless questions until you get what you want. And in a country where you don't understand the language, it's like kryptonite. You're like Superman, and you've lost all your powers.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You'll have no control over anything in Tokyo because you won't speak the language. That's why you won't go. Because you won't be able to get your way.
Yeah.
I know you too well.
And I don't know, whatever it's Japanese, Chinese, I don't know any of that language.
I'm sorry, one more time?
I don't know any of that language over there.
Did you say whatever it is, Japanese or Chinese?
Mm-hmm.
Let's parse this out. Which one do you think it is? Which one do you think they're speaking in Tokyo, Japan?
I'm thinking they're speaking Japanese.
Good job, Ellis. That makes sense. So then where would they be speaking Chinese?
Mm-hmm. In China.
Wow. That's more than a lot of people know.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, look, I think you should consider going. I understand that you're probably nervous. You don't like the idea of being on the plane that long, and you don't like the idea of not knowing the language. Mm-hmm. But I think you would go to Disney. I don't know if you'd even like Disney Sea. Part of me thinks you wouldn't even like Disney Sea. Mm-hmm. But I think you would love Tokyo Disneyland.
Plus, I've never been in a plane that long, though, also either.
So what? Have a glass of wine, take a nap.
I don't drink wine.
Well, you're going to start, buddy. If you're on a 12-hour flight with me, let me tell you something. You're drinking wine, whether you know it or not. I'll put it in your Coke.
I do not drink wine.
You drink Sprite, right? You drink Sprite?
Yeah.
All right, a little Sprite and cranberry?
Uh-huh.
A little Sprite and cranberry, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Little Sprite and cab? You know what I mean?
No.
Just, pay no attention to the red Sprite.
But I'm always a Disney World kid at heart. I will never not go to Disney World.
Yeah, I get it.
It's
but Ellis,
I have that special place in my heart.
Aw, that is sweet. But would you not go to Disneyland?
I want to go to Disneyland. I've never been.
You would love Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
Why does Disney World have a special place in your heart? What is the memory that...
I don't know. Just seeing when first walked up on Main Street and seeing Cinderella Castle, it was like breathtaking.
What was that last part?
Walking up onto Main Street and seeing Cinderella Castle for the first time was breathtaking.
Oh, yeah? I love Main Street. You know this. I could just stand on that train station platform and just stare at Main Street and the castle.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember your favorite ride from Disney World growing up?
Splash Mountain.
Was Splash Mountain? All right. So here's a really funny story. Do you remember the first time that we rode Splash Mountain?
Yes.
So I think we were like on the other side of the park. and we're heading to Splash Mountain. And I'm with Ellis, and I don't remember who was there the first time. Maybe it was everybody. I don't think Peter was there, but it was like your mom and and Taylor, and so Ellis keeps going, Chickapeen Falls. Chickapeen Falls. I'm like, Ellis, what are we talking about? You remember this, Ellis? Okay. So I'm like, oh, we're going to Splash Mountain. And Ellis goes, Chickapeen Falls. Chickapeen Falls. Ellis, what are you talking about right now? Chickapeen Falls. Ellis, let's just go to Splash Mountain. We get on Splash Mountain. And you go up the lift, and you go around the bottom, then you come up top there. And right before you come around to that view of the castle, there's a little sign that says Chickapeen Falls. And Ellis points to it and he goes, look, Chickapeen Falls. Ellis, I've ridden this ride 100 friggin' times. And I have never even stopped to read the sign that says Chickapeen Falls. And I mean, like, I'm amazed at like what you absorb when you're in these parks, because that is such a small detail on a sign on the left-hand side of a ride in a place where like nobody's looking.
Right.
And you knew it.
Yeah.
And that's amazing to me. And the way you see things is I'm very mystified by that, because you hone in on these details. You know what I mean? And you fixate on these things and you remember them. And I just find that very interesting. Like Chickapeen Falls. I'm like, what is he talking about? Chickapeen Falls. And then we go on, and there it is, Chickapeen Falls. I was like, okay, Ellis. Yeah. I love that. Well, listen, we'll get you to Tokyo. We'll get you to Disneyland at some point.
Wait, not Tokyo.
All right, we'll talk. We'll talk. You want to go to China?
No.
You don't really want to leave America.
Not really.
We want to go to New Jersey?
Not after the pandemic.
Not after what?
Not after the pandemic.
That was like 3 years ago, dude. Can I tell you a quick funny story, and then I'm going to go do the ads?
Yeah.
So when Disneyland first reopened post-pandemic, you had to wear masks on the airplane. And I almost bought a Buzz Lightyear mask, but it was like his helmet, and it like had like the chest plate. So like imagine like Buzz Lightyear's like whole like dome helmet. And I was going to buy it and just wear it on the airplane. But I didn't. That's my story. I came very close, Ellis.
Yeah, that is a good story.
I did buy a welder's mask, but then I opted not to take it on the airplane. Because people were being ridiculous. They were wearing all sorts of crazy masks.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to me. So the real reason, now that we've gotten to the bottom of it, is the pandemic. So you're afraid traveling, you might get sick.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I can appreciate that. I don't think that's an unreasonable concern.
I don't think that I'll get sick, but who knows?
Say that again?
I don't think I'll get sick, but who knows? If
Right.
you ever get sick going into
Right, but Ellis,
you never got sick going into Tokyo, did you?
I didn't get sick going to Tokyo, but you're not going to get, listen, between you and I, because nobody else is listening, Americans are slobs. Okay? It's way cleaner in Japan. You know what I mean? You got a better chance of getting sick going to the grocery store with the people in this country, the way that they don't cover their mouth when they cough and the way they don't wash their hands when they use the bathroom.
Yeah.
All right? You know what I mean?
I'm kind of turning this other ship around. I might want to go to Tokyo. Who knows? I might turn this ship around.
Oh, wow. Wow. So now you're considering Tokyo.
Yeah.
Wow. That is growth. Ellis, I'm going to leave it there with you because That's a win for me. So so now, and if I told you I will go with you to Tokyo, I bet you that helps.
Yeah.
All right. And if I go with you to Tokyo, I'll be asking all the questions.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to love that. I'm going to give you a taste of your own medicine. Ellis, can we go to Fantasy Springs?
Okay.
Ellis, can we ride Peter Pan? Ellis, can we go to the Snuggly Duckling? Ellis, let's go see Rapunzel. Ellis, I want to go to Toy Story Midway Mania. Ellis, I want to see the parade. Ellis, I'm hungry again. Ellis, I want a churro. Ellis, buy me a toy. Ellis, can I go see Stitch now? You think it's funny?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. All right, dude. Let me know when you get the other package with the beanie and the shirt that Ethan sent you. And I don't know. I listen, honestly, I don't even know what I threw in there. You might wind up with like one of my dishes or something. I may have accidentally thrown in a cereal bowl and a coffee mug.
Okay.
So I might need those back.
Okay.
I think I accidentally
All right.
took stuff out of my dishwasher and sent it to you.
No,
No, I really did. So,
okay.
if there's a ladle, if you see a ladle in the package, that's mine.
A ladle?
Yeah, I lost a ladle.
What's a ladle?
A ladle, it's like a big spoon for soup.
Okay. Oh, okay.
You don't know what a ladle, you won't know it then. If you don't know what it is, it could be in the bag and you won't even notice. Big spoon, Ellen.
Right.
So if you find my ladle, let me know.
Okay.
All right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll talk to you later.
I will.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
All right, bye.
Okay.
All right. Maybe we'll get a follow-up on the ladle. I was thinking about telling him the cookies were in there too. Anyway, listen, Ellis is always a great caller, but we're going to take a quick minute to run some sponsors. Are you ready to spice up your kitchen this holiday season? Pampered Chef has all the goodies from spatulas and mandolins to amazing pots and pans and knives. Plus, don't miss out on all the small appliances like the deluxe air fryer and the coffee maker to make your holiday cooking a breeze. Reach out to Colleen Herman, pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. Colleen Herman. That's pamperedchef.com/PWS/Colleen Herman. On vacation and the unthinkable happens. Have you been injured in an accident? Don't wait to get the help you deserve when you need it the most at the law offices of Nicole M. Kennedy. They fight for your rights and work tirelessly to get you the compensation you deserve. They're here to guide you through the process every step of the way. Call now, 305-213-5438 for a free consultation. You don't pay unless they win. Call the law office of Nicole M. Kennedy today, 305-213-5438, your trusted advocate in times of need. Last-minute shipping from the parks. Go check out my friends at the UPS store, located right behind the Magic Kingdom at 6526 Old Brick Road. They will help you with any of your last-minute shipping needs. They've also got P.O. boxes and a notary if you're local. So go to 6526 Old Brick Road, the UPS store. Tell them Joe Coconut sent you, although they probably don't even know who he is. And also, if you're looking to book a trip, we were just talking to Ellis about Tokyo. You've got William.bailey Travel. He's ready to help you plan any trip, anywhere you want to go. Disney cruises, or you're just looking to explore a new country. William.bailey provides customizable experiences at competitive rates. So check out William.bailey Travel, William.bailey at academytravel.com, William.bailey at academytravel.com, or go to my website, royces.com, and click on the travel tile. Fill out the form, and if you want to join us on the Tokyo trip, you can do that there as well. And sometimes we are so worried about this life and this moment, we forget to plan for the life for those we leave behind. With no estate plan, you could be leaving those you love the most with high taxes, probate fees, and an incomplete or divided estate and legal fights and fees. A will or trust is not just for the Rockefellers anymore. If you live in Florida, contact RK Law today to make an appointment and safeguard the future of those you love. Send an email to russell@rklawpro.com to schedule your appointment today. russell@rklawpro.com. And we'll go right back to the phones. Thank you to all of our sponsors. 860, you're on the air.
Hi, I just wanted to thank you for being so good to Alice. I have a disability as well, so I just wanted to thank you for being so good to Alice.
Oh, that's sweet. Listen, it's always a weird thing for me because I don't, the first time I met Ellis's family, first time I ever spoke to Ellis, I just straight up go, "Are you autistic?" And he goes, "No." And I go, "I'm just trying to figure out what I'm dealing with." You know what I mean? And when I met his family, they said, "Nobody knows. Like the doctors have run tests. He's just Ellis." And the funny thing to me,
Right.
like, and I so appreciate what you're saying, but like, I look at Ellis and I go, this guy's more functional than most people I know. Like I've had employees that couldn't get boop done. But if I had Ellis on payroll, Ellis will nudge you until you get it done for him. You know what I mean? Like, so I look at Ellis and I'm like, this guy's a gift. And then from the radio side of things, I mean, he's just gold.
Yeah. People look at me and they go, "Special needs where?"
Well, may I ask what your special need is?
No, I just wanted to thank you for. I was born developmentally delayed.
Not something people can necessarily see.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Yeah, so it's a cognitive disorder.
Sure, I understand that.
Yeah.
And I appreciate you recognizing that.
So I just wanted to thank you for. Yeah. So I just wanted to thank you for being so good to Ellis. It makes me appreciative of my own strength. And I was recently moving, and I forgot to tell you yesterday. Was recently moving, and you helped me get through my whole challenge for moving. I'm in housing now, so I'm very appreciative of that, and I'm grateful every day.
Well, that is so sweet. I'm so glad you're getting it done.
So,
and it sounds like everything is going great. So good for you. Look, nothing is easy. Nothing worth doing in life is easy. You know what I mean?
Nothing.
They don't teach that, though. That's the problem.
Like I said, your lives have helped me get through. Yeah, but like I said, your lives have helped me get through a lot of challenges. So I just wanted to thank you for being so good to Ellis. So it makes me appreciative watching your lives, because it makes me realize that there are people out there besides my own family and friends that understand,
Yeah, no, I love Ellis. Ellis has become family. I mean, I text with his mom, and we'll compare notes. You know what I mean? And have a good laugh, because life's too short otherwise. You know what I mean? So I'll message her and I'll be like, "Stephanie, there's a package there's a package on the way. Use it as leverage." And she's like, "Oh no, that will backfire." I'm like, "That's fair. You know best." You know what I mean? So it's all good. It's all love. I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, and I had this conversation with someone last night, one of the creators I was walking with in the city. And we were talking about how people are so afraid of differences. And my comment was, I'm always shocked that people don't see the learning opportunity. Why fear differences? And I'm not even speaking to Ellis, I'm just in general, but why fear differences when it's an opportunity to learn?
Right.
But people are so closed off and so afraid of something that doesn't remind them of themselves. And if they look at you and they don't see themselves, whether that's on the outside or the inside, then it's much easier to fear than it is to understand. And I don't like that. I've never liked that. I'm an equal opportunity offender. You know what I mean? And that's equality. So I give Ellis a hard time all day long. And so, let me tell you something. He deserves it half the time. But that's equality. I'm not going to kid glove him. I'm going to give him a hard time the same way I'll give Nick a hard time or give Yoey a hard time. And let me tell you something. Ellis throws it back. And there are times I have tears rolling down my face. So it's all good fun.
Yeah. Right. Now you understand why I'm having such a hard time with my family right now. Even more so because of my disabilities. So
How old are you?
I'm the one that called yesterday about my grandmother passing.
I remember.
Yeah,
Look, family's a funny thing, right? Because
so
blood is
it's
one
even
thing,
harder.
you know?
Right. So I just wanted to thank you though for everything that you've helped me get through. So I'll leave it to the next person, but I just wanted to thank you.
Well, you're very sweet. I hope you have a great holiday. I hope you keep your head up. Don't let the noise of other people who don't understand get in your way, even if it's family. Sometimes you just got to put on those horse blinders and stay in your lane and focus on the task at hand.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. We'll talk soon, okay?
Thank you for helping me get through. Thank you for helping me get through everything.
You are very welcome. You have a great day. Very sweet. This phone delay, though, sometimes really gets me tripped up. Very, very sweet. Very, very sweet. 253-263-1540. 253-263-1540. All right. Well, you know what? Let me say something before I get into this, because this is still in the Disney realm of things. There was an event, I guess last week, in L.A., and a young woman by the name of Dominique Brown tragically passed away due to a food allergy. And I don't believe I had ever been in her presence. I feel like maybe once. But I was not even aware of who this young woman was. And so there's a boxed lunch event. And from what I've read, she told the event planner she had an allergy. And some food was pushed out, and they told her it was fine. And she wasn't feeling great. And the story goes, she asked to go to the hospital, and they told her to take pictures first, and then unfortunately, it was too late and she passed away. And it's tragic. Absolutely tragic. Now, I know who Box Lunch is. I don't know anything like from how they operate as a business. But let me say this. When something like that occurs and you decide at the same time to put out a statement about the tragic passing of this young woman, at the same time, you release a video highlighting a Loungefly merch drop. Not only is that tone deaf, not only is that insensitive, but in my opinion, that makes you culpable. Because when people say that this woman asked for help and you told her to take pictures, my first response is, let's get the whole story. But if you're that tone deaf to literally drop a video about Loungeflies as this story is breaking, then clearly you don't care. So I'm going to say to my audience right now, do not shop at Box Lunch. I don't know this young woman. I think only because of her photo that she was at that one event I was at recently, but I don't even know. And I didn't even know her name. And it's a tragedy. But shame on you, Box Lunch. And quite frankly, I hope you go out of business. And I'm going to speak out to all the black creators out there. We support you. And quite frankly, you know, if you all lead the charge to boycott this company, I am with you. Because I think it is appalling, and not that it's a racial issue, but she was a black creator. And I just think it's appalling that a company is trying to operate and do business like this isn't something that needed to be addressed better. And they didn't address it well at all. Okay? So I'm for the boycott. I don't even know if anyone's calling for a boycott, but I say do not patronize box lunch. And again, I stand with you. So if there's a boycott, let's roll. Okay? If there's a boycott, let's roll. Just let me know what we're doing. Okay? I'm with you. All right? Because that is gross. Like, I didn't want to believe that this young woman said, hey, I need help. And they said, take pictures first. You know, and then part of me goes, were the pictures that important? In other words, you have all these content creators there. The pictures are really that important? So you can sell one more stupid Loungefly? You don't even own Loungefly. How much money are you making? You know what I mean? Like you're a retail shop. You're a hot topic at best. And you're leveraging these content creators. And here's the other problem, and I'm just going to call it out. Most of these content creators are smaller content creators, right? So they want to be there. They want the opportunity, right? So they get corralled and then they feel helpless, right? Because they don't want to be taken off the list. And I don't know what happened in this situation, but I can tell you that if you're a company like that and your whole entire MO is to take advantage of people, it isn't going to work. And all I see from the bit that I've read is that this company was more concerned about their products and their business model than humanity. So if you are going to take advantage of these content creators, and again, look, we're talking about, you know, the difference between life and death. Do we really give two flying fish about a Loungefly sale? Like, was this woman taking a picture and sharing it with her audience really going to move the needle for you anyway? The reason you have to have so many content creators at this event is because it's a game of volume and frequency. So when one individual is in need, you should take your stupid company mandate, put it to the side, and go help a human being in need. So shame on you. They should have been, every event organizer tied to that event should have been fired immediately. Box Lunch should have put out an actual statement, not the tone-deaf drivel that they dropped. And I think that there should be a massive boycott for Box Lunch. Let's see them go out of business. I don't know who owns Box Lunch, but let's see them go out of business. Because that's not how you play. That's just not how you play. And you know what? This is a perfect segue into the United Healthcare CEO being murked. I was going to say murder, but I said murked instead. You don't know what murked means, Nick, right? You don't listen to hip-hop. Anyway, people are angry, and it means murdered. Murked. You get murked. Somebody got murked. I'm not doing a spelling bee. Can you spell phonetically? Phonetically? Okay. Can I get back to what I'm doing? Could you learn how to refill the coffee mugs? Oh, damn it, I tried. But the correlation I want to make is that when I speak to the idea of boycotting Box Lunch and the outrage and people speaking up against these giant insensitive companies, and Box Lunch is a blip on the radar compared to a healthcare organization. But the anger and the outrage is all the same, right? People feel like they're not valued. And when companies reduce people to metrics, whether it's Disney with park attendance, or whether it's Box Lunch with influencers, or whether it's healthcare with patients, when people start to feel like they're being marginalized to the point that they don't even have control over their own health and well-being, and I'm not justifying what this kid did, because by the way, I'm at TikTok and I get a text message from Kenzie that this shooter got caught at McDonald's because he was being ID'd. So I write back to Kenzie, what are they, carding for the McRib? Like, who gets ID'd at McDonald's, number one? But I'm shocked that it was a kid. Like, not a kid, but I'm shocked that it was a young man and not a hit job or a hitman. And he's an educated guy. He's obviously he had some back problems, whatever it is. I was reading up a little bit on it this morning. But he felt that this was his only course of action. And I don't agree with it, but I understand the anger. And I think for me, the larger issue with all of this is the lack of care and consideration for individuals. And corporate America has gotten to the point, whether it's in your workplace and you're dealing with HR, or whether it's just as simple as being a consumer at Walmart, like we have been reduced down to a metric, and there's just no consideration for humanity, you know. And I think back to that dumb cookie video I posted. People are, well, you didn't have to buy the cookie, and I'm like, just because you can raise the prices, just because you can charge people and they'll pay, doesn't mean you should do it, right? Just because you're capable of taking money from everybody, just because you're capable of gouging everybody, doesn't mean you should do it, And I look at all of these stories, and it's the same thing. It's folks being disenfranchised. So Fox Lunch, Disney, United Healthcare, we do have to stand up to these companies. I've talked about consumer advocacy before. We do have to stand up to these companies. So I understand why this guy was as angry as he was. I'm shocked that they found him. I can't believe, obviously, Nick, he wanted to be found. He was in a McDonald's in New Jersey. Like, if you committed that crime, wouldn't you be in another country by now? Like, you wouldn't be in McDonald's. I would at least be using the drive-thru. Do you know what I mean? I wouldn't. So obviously he wanted to get caught. I heard about the YouTube. I haven't had the time to go down the rabbit hole. But I think it's a really slippery slope, because if we prop this guy up, and I understand the impulse to do so, but if we prop this guy up and we unleash a series of copycats and we just turn, and I really feel like, unfortunately, this is not a stretch by any amount, but if we start to prop up somebody like this, like there's some sort of icon or there's some sort of cultural hero, then we're going to have copycats. And then we're going to be at the point where we just have vigilantes running around everywhere. And vigilante justice isn't going to get it done. Okay? Taking to the streets, marching peacefully, boycotting a company for the way that they choose to handle business. These are the things that we can do to affect change. But as much as I'm for punching somebody in the face who deserves it, this vigilante violence doesn't scale. It doesn't get it done. And I don't want to live in a world where there's a grown man dressed up as Batman running around in the city. And I just feel like we're getting very, very close to some social media influencer. By the way, could you get my bat suit out of the washer, please? I'm just thinking we're getting very close to that moment. And when we're at that level of hysteria, I think it's very, very hard to put it all back in the bag, put the cat back in the bag, as they say. So, guy's caught. We've now got all this information. Instantly, people are like, the Twitter threads are going and the speculation. He's on the front of TMZ. Let's not turn this guy into a hero. The impulse is going to be to put him on talk shows. The impulse is going to be to put him on Dancing with the Stars. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. There's moderation. We can sort of celebrate the vigilante justice without endorsing it. In other words, we can say maybe this is the wake-up call, but this isn't the way to do it. So, maybe in the true definition of taking one for the team, this guy fired a shot that could spark a conversation. But if we double down on the violence, then we're not going to get anything. But if we take this opportunity to force a conversation, we may actually get somewhere. So I think we have to be cognizant of that. And I just think in this clickbait, celebrity-driven culture, it doesn't take much, and they're already doing it, to turn a guy like this into a social media hero, social media icon. And what's going to happen next? They're going to launch the United CEO killer crypto. he's gonna be the next one to do a pump and dump scheme. I mean, that's the world we live in. So just be careful. Be careful for what you wish for, because as much as I love the idea of, solving problems, that's not the way to do it. That's not the way to do it. And he was a smart guy, Nick. He was educated. But what does that tell you? I mean, if that is where you think your options are, if you're an educated individual and that is the only option you feel as though you have left. I mean, if I was anyone in the healthcare industry, this would be my wake up call. I don't know what his reasoning was. I read something this morning that he went surfing and came back with a back injury that left him in bed for a week, and then got surgery and had like screws sticking out of his back, and just it was all wrecked. It was all wrecked. Listen, we need all sorts of reform. We need all sorts of reform. I mean, we really do. I've said this 100 times. We need to reboot Congress. Like, what we should do is we should fire everybody in Congress, the House and the Senate. Okay. We should no longer pay anyone to legislate. It should be a volunteer elected position with term limits. You leave your job, you go hold Congress, you enact your legislation, you do your voting, and you go home to your job. That's the way it was designed, and that's the way it's meant to be. There's no reason for a Mitch McConnell or a Nancy Pelosi to be as old as they are and still in Congress. It is inexcusable, and they are both a massive part of the problem. And let me tell you something. They are probably the best of friends. They are probably the best of friends, because that's how it works. Because the two-party system is designed to keep the middle class suppressed and keep lining the pockets of the rich. So it's theater. The term political theater is exactly that. It's a show. And they don't care. They don't care. So when I look at somebody like do you remember Dianne Feinstein? I mean, like, she was like, hello, lady, are you even alive? It was like Weekend at Bernie's with that woman. And Mitch McConnell literally has literally had a system reboot. Like, he literally, the logic board went out on that dude in the middle of a speech at the podium. He froze, and they had to reset the PRAM. I mean, that guy literally glitched. And I just am like, these are our leaders? These are our leaders? No. So it's unacceptable. So you understand why an educated guy like this, decides to take matters into his own hand, because the system is so broken. But it's wild. And it's so bad. It's so bad. So in the same way, I hope a company like Box Lunch, wakes up to the realization of their culpability. I hope that these healthcare executives wake up to the fact that there's a target on all of the CEOs' backs now, whether they like it or not. I don't endorse that target, but I hope that it's the beginning of a much more important conversation, and maybe can force some real reform. That's what I would hope. That's what I would hope. Will it happen? Hard to say. 253-263-1540, 253-263-1540. I saw something else. This is more just current events. The company HelloFresh has been accused of using child labor in Chicago. I think it's immigrant child labor too. I mean, I'm certain it is from what I read. So the company, and I haven't read any follow-up on this. This was in my notes from the weekend, that HelloFresh is using child labor in Chicago. Now, you're going to tell me that officials aren't aware of these things? My question isn't, how do you not know about this? My question is, who was being paid off to look the other way? That's what I want to know. Who was being paid off to look the other way? There's no way a company like HelloFresh was utilizing immigrant child labor without somebody being paid off to look the other way. So, I don't know who out there is in tune to the story. I haven't had too much time to go any deeper than that. But I looked at that and I thought, all right, well, somebody signed off on that. Somebody allowed that. And then also you got to remember it's Chicago. I mean, you want to talk about the political landscape in Chicago, it doesn't get any more corrupt. So I firmly believe that somebody was being paid to look the other way there. Now, speaking of being paid, and this kind of goes back into Disney. For those of you who don't know, I was a cast member. And Disney has a credit union. And I saved this for this part of the show just because, I don't know, it's more of a gripe and less of Disney news kind of thing, more of a personal gripe. So anyway, I have an account with the Disney Credit Union. The Disney Credit Union is run by cast members for cast members. In fact, if you go to their website, it says, as the credit union for the Walt Disney Company for more than 60 years, Partners is operated by cast members for cast members and their families. So, about a year ago I moved, and I didn't do a change of address with Partners because, quite frankly, I don't really engage with them or get a lot of mail from them. But I logged on a couple weeks ago to handle some business, and I see close to $100 in individual $5 fees have been taken out of my account for having the wrong address on file. Now, they have my information. They know how to reach me. They've got my phone number. They've got my email. I was a cast member. You're the credit union. Okay. So I call up. I don't get anywhere. They're supposed to call me back. So then I call up again the other day, finally. And I said, I need you to reverse these charges. Well, they decided they reversed $15 of the $90 that they docked me for the wrong address. I said, ma'am, I know you're a cast member, but nobody reached out to me at all. And if you're doing this, why are we dropping ones in the chat? What does that mean? If you're doing this to me, okay, how many other cast members are you doing this to? And exactly, it's all about taking people's money. So I'm curious, and I don't know what cast members are listening. Go check if you've moved. Go check your credit union, your partner's credit union history, and make sure they're not docking you. Because I was docked close to $100 for information that needed to be updated that nobody told me they needed updating because I don't get mail from Partners. And then they said the best we can do is reverse $15 of it. So the whole scam at Partners, and I said to her, I go, for a place that's run by cast members, for cast members, you think you would be operating in the best interest of cast members. But it sounds to me like the Walt Disney Company's credit union is running a scam against cast members to beef up the credit union by stealing money from the cast members. You didn't reach out to me. You have my phone number. Well, sir, we don't do that. Well, I know you don't do that because, if 1,000 cast members are giving you $5 a month for nothing, then you're pulling another $5,000 a month out of people for nothing. And if you do that all year long, that's another $60K to the credit union. And it's more than 1,000 cast members, and I'm not the only one, and cast members move all the time. So shame on you, credit union. But more importantly, if you're a cast member, go take a look and make sure you're not getting gouged. Nick, that microphone you're talking into is not plugged in. Therefore, nobody can hear you. What are you, like Maggie Simpson, you got the fake steering wheel. Nick, nobody can hear you, so it doesn't matter. Check all your accounts, of course. All right, what is this? An ad for Rocket Mortgage or whatever it is? Not Rocket. What's it called? What's that app called that you always Rocket? Whatever. Not Rocket. Anyway, you're distracting me. That's another way of saying distract. But it is. Look, somebody just made the point. That's what these companies want to do. And we were talking about access the other day. The whole game now is get your card on file. And if I can get money from everybody every single month and you forget that you're subscribed, like Netflix, whatever it is, and that's why Netflix is such a scam, and nobody challenges it, right? The whole thing is just to take your money. So he's right. It's not just partners. Nick was saying to check your bank accounts. Quickly.
Good morning, everybody. Don't mind my hair. So during the pandemic, gyms were closed, and as you can tell, I like to go to the gym a lot.
They have a vending machine there?
Yeah. They have a great snack bar. But anyway, gyms love to take your money, and if you've ever signed up for one, they charge you initiation fee, this and that. It's nonsense. So anyway, pandemic happened. Could we go to the gym? No. Were they still charging everybody? Of course. So the thing that I did that worked was I called my bank or my credit card company, and I put a stop pay order. So if they saw any charges from that specific company, they would stop it. It wouldn't go through. So as like a tip to everyone out there, when you see charges like that and you're having a hard time canceling them, just call your bank, call your credit cards, and tell them do not allow these charges to go through anymore, because that's really the only way to stop them, because they will make you go through so many hoops and loops to try to cancel, or that they'll try to keep you from.
That's why I use a credit card for anything like that, because the credit card is your barrier, and you don't have as much wherewithal with the bank, because that's cash out of your account. So they can do a temporary reversal, but it's quite possible that it'll get denied. Oh yeah, for sure. But if you put, like, I was telling everybody that so I got a letter from the IRS saying, oh, you owe like $50 for an adjustment. No big deal. But they don't let you pay with a credit card. They want your bank. They want your routing number, so in the future they can garnish you without asking. So I wasn't going to do that. So I found that I had a savings account that I don't use that had like $3 in it. So I moved just the amount of money into that savings account and then tied the savings account there. So if they ever decide one day they want to garnish me, there's nothing there to garnish. Basically. Well, but I mean, that's the truth, right? You have to create layers of protection for yourself. I mean, this is consumer advocacy. So what you're talking about with stop payments is great if you're aware of the payments. So many people have all these monthly charges and they're not even aware of them. That's why I made the joke about the app. But I mean, do your bookkeeping. I love QuickBooks. I'm not in it enough, but it's automatic and I can get in there and I can get organized and I can get a good sense of my monthly expenses. I love QuickBooks. It's a bit much if you don't know how to do it, but you got to pay attention. You got to do it. And that's, I think, the real value of a credit card, because I've found that, like, with Amex, and I know you feel the same way, like, Amex is great when it comes to challenging things. Like, and I feel like Amex has been better for me than PayPal ever has been with buyer protection.
Well, the one thing, though, I know, like, I was doing a dispute recently, and it was some time has passed, but I unfortunately got declined the dispute because it was beyond 60 days. So that's another thing. Like, yeah, you get all that list of fine print garbage, and it's super tiny. But I'm not saying you have to read it all, but at least do your due diligence to find all the fine print, because that at least can save you some money to get you out of some hot water. But also, you got to play by their rules.
Well, you gotta play the game. Now, play the game to change the game. I actually called Amex about a charge that I didn't approve. It was like a $300 charge. And I was some software for podcasting, and I didn't approve the charge. So they immediately reversed it. And while I was on the phone, I said, hey, I have this other charge, and I was very honest. I go, look, I bought it. It was a $10 cookie. It was trash, and I just don't think it's right. But I bought the cookie. It wasn't like, an erroneous charge. And the guy goes, you know something? He goes, you're absolutely right. He goes, I'm reversing the charge on that cookie. So Amex stood up for the consumer. So it was a $300 charge I was trying to get reversed, but I got the cookie back too. Also, you put the coffee so close to the mixer. It's a very expensive mixer. It's probably waterproof. Yeah, that's true. So, look, it's a good point though. I mean, about the buyer protection and all these things. Because these companies have, that's my point about the credit union. Like, I can't do anything. They have my money. So all I can do now is I got back $15, so I can't worry. I'm not going to lose sleep over it, but I'm going to take all my money out of that account. Because there's no reason for it to be in there. The cookie incident would have been a good Seinfeld episode. Yeah, well, look, a lot of my life makes a good Seinfeld episode. I don't know so if you missed the live last night in the city, two things happened. So first, we're walking around, my old neighborhood. I kind of went towards, 9th Avenue and like 55th. And as we're walking that way, there's a Broadway show letting out. And I don't know who the actor was, but there's at this point, he's at the stage door and there's 4 or 5 people. Hi, Gretchen. There's 4 or 5 people taking, pictures and autographs and whatnot. And I'm live. So if you were on the live, you saw this. And if I already told this story at the top of the show, I apologize. But we're walking by and the actor's doing his thing. And I'm like, okay. So I just stand next to the 4 remaining people. And as he's getting from behind the stanchions or the guardrail to walk away because he's just walking down the street to leave, I just go, thank you. It was fantastic. And that is my life. That is a Curb Your Enthusiasm Seinfeld moment. Then the ultimate Seinfeld moment happens. I'm back in Times Square and this homeless guy comes up to me and tells me he's hungry and I'm live. And I said, all right, well, you want a slice of pizza? There's a pizza spot right here. He goes, yeah, I'll take a slice of pizza. You get me a slice of pizza? I said, absolutely. I'll get you a slice of pizza. In my mind, I'm like, this guy doesn't want pizza. I wasn't born yesterday, but if this man really wants a slice of pizza, I'm going to buy this man a slice of pizza, right? I'm going to be a good human being. So I start walking with him to the pizza place. And we pass an Applebee's. And he goes, well, how about this? And I go, what? And he points to the all-you-can-eat buffalo wings. And I was like, you want the all-you-can-eat buffalo wings? I was like, we're not sitting down. I'm not dining with you. And then I'm like, could you imagine if I just took this homeless guy into Applebee's and paid ahead of time and then left? I'd be banned from not that I go to Applebee's, but I'd be banned from every Applebee's around the world. So I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'll get you a slice of pizza. And he goes, well, can I get a Coke as well? I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. You can get a slice of pizza and a Coke. And he goes, well, how about 2 slices? And I said, you're really pushing it. And he goes, well, if we go around the corner, there's a cheaper place. And I said, you have a nice night. And I just turned around and walked away. I'm like, it's not a negotiation. It's not a negotiation. You wanted a slice of pizza. I would have gotten you a slice of pizza. Then you wanted a buffet. The buffet was off the table, bro. Then I added the Coke into the equation because, okay, fine. I'm not going to give you a slice of pizza without something to wash it down. I'm not going to be the guy that buys a homeless man a slice of pizza and he chokes to death because he didn't have anything to wash it down with. Right? So I'm trying to do the right thing. But he, you know what you say in Yiddish? There's a chazer. He's a chazer. You know what that means?
I do, but tell everyone.
For them. Not you. No, because you know what it means. So why don't you go over there and close the door? Because you don't need to hear me tell you something you already know. Oh, you're moderating. Right. A chazer is you're like a nebish. A chazer is like a nebish. You understand? I don't think you understand at all. Anyway, he's greedy. He wanted too much. He was a chazer. He was a nebush. He was a Nebuchadnezzar. All right. So my Yiddish. 253-263-1540. We're going to be live together later, so that'll be fun. So stick around for that. How far am I into this show today, Nick? Oh, we're at the 2-hour mark. Oh, it's not a bad place to really wrap it up. Obviously I don't do the daily walks around Disney because in the moment we're in New York, but yes, I still go to the parks. We were in the parks the other night. Gretchen saying she just got here. Gretchen, you don't even like shows. Gretchen doesn't even like shows. And I'm supposed to be doing radio, and now I'm talking to the chat. And that is not radio. Radio is a ball in the air sort of presentation. So it's 253-263-1540. I can't lose that momentum, Nick. I like to keep it in the air. As soon as you have dead air, it's silent. That is true. That's right. Thank you for the coffee. Don't be such a nebbish next time when I ask you to get coffee. Be less of a nebbish and more of a chazer. Chazer. That's a death stare. This coffee's horrible, by the way. And, it's delicious. Thank you. I gotta go to a Dunkin' Donuts. Can you just cover your ears for 2 seconds? I gotta go. There's a Dunkin' Donuts down the street. After this, I'm going to Dunkin' Donuts. And I gotta teach you how to make espresso. I gotta teach this guy how to make espresso. So let's talk about TikTok. I spent all day yesterday at TikTok headquarters. The sentiment is that it's business as usual, naturally. And I'm of the mindset, from what I've asked and what I observed, that even if TikTok goes away, and I think it's 50-50 right now. I really do. And I didn't feel that way at one point. But at this point, I do believe it's 50-50. But if TikTok were to go away, that doesn't necessarily have any impact on ByteDance. ByteDance owns CapCut. They own Lemonade. And I don't know what else. They own a few things. So I am more curious about the future of ByteDance in the States, because the TikTok app being banned doesn't necessarily put ByteDance out of the States. So I have some thoughts on maybe how they choose to do that, and it would be all speculative, so I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But I do think that even if TikTok were to get banned, it would be a very, very slow burn. Okay, it wouldn't be an instantaneous pull. It would be a tapering, right? So what would happen first? It would get pulled from the app stores, right? It gets pulled from the app stores. Then what does that mean? It means you can't update the app, right? But anybody who has the app on their phone, and by the way, if you don't know this, particularly about the Apple App Store, if you have ever downloaded an app and you no longer have it, or the app is no longer available, you can still get it in your download histories. I used to use the Sphero Star Wars droid app because Disney and Sphero had a partnership for the BB-8 and the R2-D2 droids. And then they stopped the licensing deal. So I was like, I can no longer use these things. And I started Googling to see if somebody had an offline version of the app that I could somehow put on my phone. And then I realized it was as simple as just going in and re-downloading it because I had already downloaded it. So why am I saying that? If TikTok were to go away, the first step would be to take it off the App Store. And I would imagine that anybody who has downloaded it in the past would still be able to download it to a new device. Okay? And then maybe at some point you can no longer do that. And at some point you can no longer get the necessary updates, so then the app becomes heavy and it starts to get buggy and it starts to slowly die. So I don't think, even if TikTok gets banned, that you're going to see like them pulling the plug. I think it's going to be a very, very slow unraveling. And that is partly based off of the conversations I heard yesterday and just partly based off of common knowledge. They don't think TikTok's going anywhere. Okay. I mean, do I really think that they would tell us if they thought it was? Of course not. Because you're going to run business as usual to the last possible moment because you don't want to disrupt things, and you certainly don't want to tell people TikTok is going away into a room full of creators and then have them all abscond to another app. You want your revenue to come in, right? So they're going to maintain that level of confidence. But I think behind closed doors, they know it's 50-50. I do know, and this has nothing to do with my meeting yesterday, but I do know, because I think he tweeted it, that the CEO of TikTok reached out to Elon Musk. And being that Elon Musk is our vice president-elect, that may be all it takes. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know. I really don't care. I told everybody yesterday, I was like, I don't care if it goes away. I welcome the challenge. I welcome the challenge. You know? If it stays, I'm all for it. I told him I want to grow with the app. I had conversations yesterday about growing with the app. There's things I want to do. The only real option TikTok has in terms of preventing the ban is the Supreme Court, right? At this point, it's up to the Supreme Court. And TikTok's statement is that the Supreme Court historically has upheld civil liberties and freedoms, freedom of speech. But I think that the argument here will be that this is quite the opposite, that this is not about freedom of speech and this is about infringement on rights. However, and I had this conversation last night with a couple folks, I am of the mindset that the social media parasitical relationships that TikTok breeds are more dangerous than anything the Chinese Communist Party could do with the information we think they're getting from the app. Because our cell phones and all this other technology have already given all of these organizations and anyone else who wants it all the access to all the information they need on us. You have Amazon devices in your house that are reporting to the NSA, okay? They are recording everything you say even when you think that they're not awake. The Amazon devices have a 1-minute buffer built in, and they're constantly grabbing information. So I am of the mindset that the real harm from TikTok is the nature of the parasocial relationships that gifting breeds. One of the reasons that I've made the pivot into podcasting is to diversify my revenue. And I had a long conversation last night with an executive at TikTok about that. So I look at it, quite frankly, and hi China, because I know you're listening, but I consider TikTok to be Chinese economic warfare at its finest. I think it's social and economic warfare. I don't think the real threat from TikTok comes from TikTok somehow getting access to user data that they shouldn't have because we willingly give up that information. I just think the way that the app forces the creators to constantly get the audience to contribute, and it doesn't end, and it's this cycle. And look, I need to make a living, so I have to embrace the tools. But I do find that the structure of the app really is designed to line the pockets of the Chinese Communist Party and take money from every other country. Like, I firmly believe that. These live fest, these global live fest events, that's all it is. It's just one big shakedown. And I need to make a living. So I embrace the gifting, and I try to hit the leaderboard because it's an honest way of doing it as opposed to like creating false engagement. Giveaways are fun, but it's so much easier to just be like, hey, let's gamify it. Let's run this leaderboard. Like, I just need the support to keep going, and that this function is here and it keeps people focused. So I use like the leaderboard tools that way. But I think generally speaking, the way that TikTok forces creators to constantly be playing these battles and these challenges and all these different things, It's not about quality content. It's an economic rift. And I know I'm not supposed to say that because I'm live on TikTok, but I think the real harm from TikTok is what I just described. It's not the Chinese government's access to our information. It's the way that it breeds parasocial relationships based off of gifting, and the way that it breeds toxicity between the audience and the creator. And I think if you want to be a real creator and a legitimate creator, you need to have brand deals, you need to have ad sponsors, and you need to diversify your revenue. You would tell somebody in the stock market to diversify their portfolio. If you're a businessman, you want to diversify your revenue. So if TikTok does go away, I throw a party. And I told them that yesterday. They're like, I don't. And then somebody asked me, she was running the meeting. She goes, you were at all these events. We're talking. She goes, why aren't you raising your hand and telling people how you've had all this success? You were at Live Fest. You're at VidCon. I go, because I don't care. Also, I don't want to slow down the meeting. You know, Nick, you should have heard the questions yesterday. They're like, listen, here, community guidelines. You can't drive a car on the stream. Well, what if I'm the passenger? Probably not a good idea. What if I use the green screen filter? It's probably better that you don't do it at all. Did you know how much? I just want to be like, what if I'm in an Uber? What if it's a rental car? Can you just listen to what they're telling you? And then at one point they go, Royce, you should really explain to people the strategy that you implement. So I explained it, and my rep goes, I couldn't have said that better myself. And then you get half the room going, yeah, that's cool, but if you did it this way, and I'm like, well, if you did it this way, it's no longer that strategy. But okay, so listen, there are gatekeepers and there are those that offer up information. I like to learn from people, but the key to learning is listening. So when I'm surrounded by, there's a guy I met last night, and we have the same rep, and I was taking notes. We're standing at the bar, and I'm taking notes because he's telling me things, and I'm like, that's really savvy. I got to do that. He's not a gatekeeper because he knows most people aren't going to listen to him anyway. You know what I'm saying? You understand what I'm trying to say? All right. We are going to wind this down. We're going to do a team lift on TikTok, and then we're going to pick up this live stream elsewhere, okay? I think we've done enough show for the morning. We have another radio show tomorrow morning. We're going to be live this afternoon. I got a couple pieces of business to take care of before that. So we're going to wrap this up. We're going to do a team lift on TikTok. Am I going to Walt Disney World today? I am in New York, so I don't think so. The portal's closed, right? Okay. Yeah, not today. All right. So, hi, Shelby. I know. All right. Thank you all for tuning in. It's weird to do it this way. Thank you for letting me do this here, Nick, and I appreciate y'all for tuning in, and I'll see you soon. Yeah, the portal's closed. It's all right. And my key fob is broken. That's the other issue. I got to call IT. Thank you, Stefan. So thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate you. Go check out my conversation with Joshua L. Harris. That's up wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you didn't catch last Sunday's episode with Kenzie, check that out as well. We'll be back tomorrow morning with another radio presentation. We'll be back in Orlando before you know it. And I'll see you on the live in a little bit. Gretchen, I'm going to be right here on TikTok for about another 3 to 5 minutes with y'all. We're going to do a team lift, and then we're going to wrap it up. So thank you all so much for listening. I'll see you next time.